Hi, my name is Alyson Jefferson. I'm a fourth year majoring in politics and law and society with a minor in Africana studies, and I play basketball. It's important to celebrate Black History Month because attending a PWI, whether intentional or not, a lot of times Black accomplishments and Black students and just like Black resources just aren't as widely available or as celebrated. Goes into the very fabric of what this school has done in the past, the first school to admit Black students. And with that, it's important that we recognize Black students and their accomplishments just so people can know that it's inclusive here, diversity is important, and everyone is welcome and has a place on campus, so they'll never feel marginalized. Being a co-chair of BSAG and a part of the Black Student Union, I am someone who is a resource for students whenever they may have an issue. I'm also just an advocate for them. A lot of times I am a first step for faculty and other groups on campus to talk to when they're like, hey, what's the best way to address this? But also I am someone who promotes Black students and Black women on campus when at times we may not be as celebrated as much or recognized. And I try to make sure that we are put at the forefront of the conversation as someone on the basketball team and as someone working with a lot of people in faculty and around campus. I'm just someone who is known, and I like to use my position to maybe uplift those whose name may not be in the conversation or who you just don't know. Yeah, I mean, coming into COVID was definitely a shock. I didn't get that first year college experience, but coming into Oberlin, I felt like I experienced new things and became more open-minded. There were a lot of issues that I just may not have been aware of coming from Washington, D.C. It's, chocolate city. At least when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of talk about LGBTQ issues and just inclusivity. And I think coming to Oberlin really changed that and just opened up my mind. I would say just over the 4 years, I've definitely become more open-minded, someone who isn't afraid to raise their voice, who isn't afraid to ask questions, and who isn't afraid to embrace the unknown. Growing up, I've always been interested in social justice, working with minority groups, whether it's women, just the Black community in general, juveniles. In DC, I've witnessed a large homeless population. Gentrification is really big. Gun violence is just a huge issue. And all of that really hits close to home because I always imagined moving back. Now I'm just thinking about it, is that somewhere where I really want to be? And then I think about that thought and I'm like, well, that shouldn't be my thought at all. It's how can I make my home a better place? And how can I give back to the community that raised me? Because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't grow up there. I worked in the Office of Attorney General last summer, and with that, it just opened my eyes to really about what's going on with the youth there, because I worked in the juvenile division. So I just witnessed a lot of kids who just didn't really have a lot of options growing up. I know that crime was something they turned to because their parents weren't home. The education system is kind of failing a lot of students, especially low-income students. And that's just something I noticed and really want to combat later in life. I don't know what that'll look like yet, but I definitely want to do something about that. On campus, I'm an RA and I work in the Student Finance Committee as head treasurer. And in both of those, I work a lot with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. As an RA of African Heritage House, which is a Black identifying house, I work with a lot of students who come to me about their issues, who I put on programming for them. And then in the Student Finance Committee, I work on making sure that student organizations get funding, and I put an emphasis on cultural and identity spaces and events. So I think a lot of what I've been doing and a lot of my work in the future, I want to work with marginalized groups that just aren't heard as much, and people who just need that help. Just because, I've been blessed and privileged to attend an institution like this, and that my dad was able to help me out a lot, but I know not everyone has those resources. I believe you should go to Oberlin because of the resources that it offers, but as well as just the learning community here. Because when I got here, Oberlin may not have known the importance of BSAG as much, or may not have known the importance of the Black Student Union or things like that. The more work that we've done, the more Oberlin has just embraced that and said, hey, how can we learn more? How can we help more? Athletics, we work with you guys often. You guys have really, invested and said, hey, Alyson, what do you need? What are the resources you need? And I feel like with every new student athlete that comes who's dedicated to their studies and dedicated to athletics and to whatever group they're a part of, they can just make it better. Any student that comes will have those opportunities and those resources to uplift them and to make their dreams come true, as cliche as that may sound.